All right, good evening there, Pythonistas. I'm going to address you as Pythonistas tonight. This is a record for me. I think I have never made three YouTubes in one day, so I'm on a roll here. The slideshow I want to go through fairly quickly now is from 2012, it says. It's on the web. I'll put a link to it further down. What's a little mysterious to me is it says in the caption, although I had this prepared as a lightning talk, I elected not to deliver it as such. Actually, if you dig, if you go into my channel, you can find a YouTube from Santa Clara Lightning Talk Saturday morning session where I did do this as a lightning talk. I have kind of wild hair. I'm in a hurry. It's a lightning talk. I have 5 minutes. I'm not going to take that much longer on this one, though. Anyway, I put a particular spin on it. It's from way before Russiagate and stuff like that, and I'm making light of how, I grew up in the days of the Whole Earth catalog and stuff, and our psychology was different. So maybe my sense of humor is lost on today's young folks, but nevertheless, I'm going to go through it again and do it a little bit differently. I still have slightly messy hair, but it's not really a lightning talk. Pythonic Andragogy. Let's try a big screen approach and just go through these slides. Andragogy is a great word, and I encourage you to use it more because we're entering a time in high tech anyway when adults always need training. It's like you're always going back to school. I call it free high school for life because you're not necessarily needing a college level. You just need to, how do I cook for 25 people? How do I organize this? How do I run this kind of cashiers? Um, there's lots of jobs we're going to jump around and we're going to need education for life. So teaching adults should be like a number one activity that we're all getting engaged in, and that's what andragogy means, but I don't find it used much. Now kids, they have a special sense of humor, things they appreciate. They're getting used to bodily functions, and there's lots of like fart jokes and barf jokes and stuff. Grossology, it was actually distilled into a traveling museum exhibit, and I'm alluding to that here. I do look at pedagogy, and I think fill in the blanks Mad Libs is a very important application of any computer language where you show how you can substitute words into placeholders. This kind of thing goes all the time, happens all the time, so-called substitution. So I do pay attention to pedagogy as well as andragogy, but then there are differences. I think andragogy is a little more edgy. By the way, tonight is my night's theme, my dark theme here. So let me just do a little bit of this ritualing, stroking of the strange ball. See, that's kind of adult, a little bit weird, kind of adult swim, as I say somewhere. We have kind of twisted adult bookstores, X-rated. All these things fall under the heading of adult. In the English language, we have this word adult, which has a lot of weird meanings, and that's where I'm putting in this edgy as my summary word for all of that. And then I go about sketching out a specific curriculum, one that I've been working on that involves Python generators, Mandelbrot sets, and I want to explain about the Mandelbrot set. And the Wittgenstein stuff I can defer to my Martian math talks. So that's a picture of Ludwig Wittgenstein in the lower right, and it's the Martian math stuff, the alien stuff, where here I'm using the crop circles because it's a segue once again to the Mandelbrot. I also go with H.G. Wells and Orson Welles reading H.G. Wells in terms of, the idea of an alien curriculum. It's kind of mysterious, and look, what do adults like to do? They like to watch YouTubes about UFOs and Area 51. I've been on YouTube long enough to know what attracts people's interests, and there's a lot going on in that area, so why not jump in? Then the next thing I talk about in my talk, if you dig it out, is the socialist realism period and pictures glorifying tractors, which I still think we need to glorify and be into because come down to it, tractors do play just agricultural mechanization is still an important aspect of life. Now, what's appropriate? I'm familiar with a story in Cuba where they discovered when they wanted to go back to organic, smaller scale farming that the industrial farming techniques, how they'd compacted the land so much with the big heavy tractors, all the fertilizers, the fossil fuel fertilizers, the pesticides, these were practices no longer to be practiced or to be changed radically. Still, the tractors come in as smaller tractors perhaps, but you still want to have some kind of help, some kind of mechanization. And I think a lot of what's plagued agricultural societies is not getting the technology quite right. So I made some jokes about, Russians, Chinese were going through my talk at Santa Clara. Obama was president at that time. I made some jokes about the New Deal. Now in 2019, we're talking Green New Deal. I mean, it's not like these memes ever really just go away. Shepard Fairey, very influential as an artist. And then the game of life. Now, you've heard me talk about this recently, perhaps. I've been writing about it in any case. I transferred the cellular automata game to a hexapence. And on the left is my friend John Driscoll's work at Portland State doing stuff with the game of life. Cellular automaton are very much a part of this Pythonic curriculum that I've put together here with the generator tractors that mow back and forth across a field and depending on what the math is, creating different patterns like crop circles, right? So actually, and then I also get into this kind of virtual nation stuff. I'm going to stop the slideshow now and end with another meme set quickly. What did I do with the Just Use It campaign? Because I do have some advertising campaigns embedded in my writings, and rather than make people figure it all out for themselves, I think I should be the one to explain myself sometimes. So one of those meme sets is Coffee Shops Network, but also more than that, using Athena in connection with Python. And the connection is kind of obvious if you know your Greek mythology. Athena had this sort of cult of oracles, people who could tell the future. This is Greek myth now. You don't have to believe anything that I'm saying. It's just, here's a story from Greek mythology. The cult of Athena, based in Delphi, has this python under Mount Parnassus. Now, we've used in the Python community Mount Parnassus already quite a bit. The python was the source of the wisdom. They talked about vapors coming up through the cracks. Whatever it was that got these oracles to sort of see the future and be clairvoyant. They were getting clients from all over the world to come to them. And then the story goes, Apollo was somewhat appalled by all of this sort of woo-woo, sort of female witchery, and being kind of the male patriarch fascist kind of guy, he wanted rationality to come in. So it's kind of like Apollo versus Dionysus in Greek mythology, which we've gone through a lot of in literature. German philosophy and so on has already done the Apollo-Dionysus dynamic. What's the Apollo-Athena dynamic? Apollo supposedly chases the python and kills it at some point and takes over Delphi. Basically incorporates the Athena franchise into his larger sort of patriarchal, rational, left brain, whatever, network. So my take on that is no, the python got away and went to Nashville, where a actual two-scale, meaning a true-size temple to Athena, was built for a World's Fair, and I've got a lot of World's Fair tie-ins there. The Bucky stuff and so forth. And there's an Athena the way she was in her full glory at the time in Athens. There's the Python again. Now, in her other hand is what's called Nike, a small little god with little angels. Um, and that's also, around here we have the Nike's shoes and the company that designs those shoes. Here in Portland and Beaverton, we have the Nike headquarters. And their slogan is always just do it, right? That was what the Nike people came up with. So that's where I come up for Python with just use it. And it all ties together, you see, because it's an allusion to the Nike ad campaign and to the fact that Athena holds Nike in one of her hands in this famous pose. Now I could go back and talk more about Nashville as a source of musicians, all with their guitars, hoping to win fame and appreciation for what they can do with their instruments. That's a lot like geek culture, in that we all have our laptops and we go around with our own music, our own creations, and show each other, play for each other, give our lightning talks or whatever. The culture of music and the culture of laptops and software, computers and music, automated music, music as machines, goes all the way back. So I feel like we get to inherit because Athena is a goddess of music. I feel like we come by it rightly as geeks, and I celebrate that year that Gibson Guitar actually had a presence at one of the OSCONs, open source conventions. I felt like, hey, someone's paying attention. There is continuity in the culture here. So that's a broad overview of some of what I've been doing as far as um, carving out a space in culture for Python in terms of PR, you could say, propaganda, advertising, or mainly just mnemonics. What I think of it is as the memory palace tradition, where you just want to have kind of a clear head where the things you want to remember are in a nice arrangement or pattern. People use astrology for this, they use religion for this. There's nothing magical about it except that you are keeping your head together in an organized manner. That's called mnemonics. So a lot of what I do in terms of gluing together these memes is just to give you something that's very compact and easy to think about. It's not trying to do some kind of magical thinking, if by that you mean I'm expecting um, supernatural phenomena to arise from my manipulation of symbols. That's not what I'm doing, but it is programming. I'll admit that. And memory is something we manage in Python, so I'll admit that. All right, hope that was interesting. Again, third video, the first time I've done so many videos in one day, I think. I'm glad to share my world, and thank you for listening. Talk to you later.